Hello, my name is Will Butler and I'm the Head of Modern Collections at the National Archives. This short film will introduce you to some of the records we hold relating to service in the armed forces of the United Kingdom, with a particular focus on the 19th century and the first part of the 20th century, including the First World War. There are a couple of useful things to know before getting started. Many of the records that I'll be talking about for all branches of the armed services have been digitised and are available to download, normally either directly from the National Archives website or through one of our partners, including Ancestry and Find My Past. To access these records, you will need to register for an account, and usually there is a charge associated with access to them. But what it does mean is that they are almost instantly accessible, and more often than not, searchable using keywords. Additionally, some of the records being discussed have not been digitised and will likely require a visit to our reading rooms. Before starting your research, it's useful to have to hand some information about the individual you are researching. Obviously, things like a name are crucial, but it may also be handy to know at least an approximate year of birth, possibly even a place of birth too. If you know that they were given a service number of some description, then that can also help narrow down your research, as would knowing, in the case of the Army for example, which regiment or branch of the service in which someone served. It's not essential to have all of this information. After all, some of it you may be trying to find out in the process of your research, but if you have them, these additional details can aid in your search. It's also worth knowing whether the person you are researching was an officer or not, mainly because they are kept in different record series, regardless of whether they served in the Navy, Army or Air Force. Depending on whether they were an officer will determine where you need to be looking for relevant records. It's entirely possible that you don't know this information, and that doesn't mean that you can't research that person, but it will mean that you'll likely have to look across all of the various record series, especially if the particular records you are looking at have not been digitized. Let's start by taking a look at some sources which relate to military service in the Royal Navy and the British Army during the 19th century. We'll start with researching ratings as opposed to officers in the Royal Navy. Before 1853, the best way to do this is by consulting a ship's muster roll or paybook, with which you can trace a seaman's service both backwards and forwards. To do this, though, you will need to know the name of at least one of the ships on which the rating served and an approximate date. From 1853, seamen enlisting in the Royal Navy were given a continuous service, or CS number. These were entered in continuous service engagement books, which are available from the National Archives in the ADM 139 series. Then, from 1873, this system was modified with the introduction of the Registers of Seamen's Services, located in ADM 188. Handily, it is possible to search across these records for those who entered service up until 1928 on our website and download copies directly from there. And these records contain a wealth of personal information, including things like the names of ships served on with dates of joining. And the later records also include things like occupation, notes made about the person's character, and physical appearance. The National Archives also holds certificates of service for most of the 19th century, which were originally used for the granting of pensions, medal rolls, as well as other smaller collections which may be of interest when researching. And you can find out more about these records by having a look at our research guides on our website. If you are searching for a commissioned or warrant officer in the Royal Navy, we also hold the service records of officers who joined between 1756 and 1931 in series ADM 196. For commissioned officers, these records go up to 1917, and for warrant officers up to 1931. And the records are much more complete the later you are looking. As with Navy ratings, these records include interesting personal details, including rank, dates of entry and discharge, and sometimes next of kin details, as well as lists of ships in which someone served. With both ratings and officers then, once you've located a service record, hopefully including a list of ships served on, it's possible to use this information to carry out further research. In particular, you may be able to locate one of a number of types of Royal Navy logbooks, which reveal the location of ships wherever they were in the world, and the voyages that they took. This can obviously add some fascinating details to an individual's service if you have been able to identify that they served on a ship at a particular time. There are several different types of naval logs you can search here, each providing slightly different information. These include admirals' journals and masters', captains' and lieutenants' logs, while it's also possible to find details in medical officers' journals. Most of these logs are searchable by ship name, which you can carry out using an advanced search of our catalogue to ensure that you are looking in the correct series and at the relevant period of time. We also hold a large number of naval operations records to do with things like battles, orders and instructions, and a vast collection of naval correspondence. Much of this won't include specific details of individuals, but can provide much broader information about a particular time period or issue, and these are available to view in our reading rooms. Now to turn to service in the British Army during the 19th century. Once again, our collections on this subject are vast, and so we can provide a snapshot of that material and how to go about researching for individuals within it. To take soldiers or other ranks first, it is important to remember that for this period, up until the First World War, there is not normally one service record available for an individual, and so this gives us a slightly more complicated puzzle to solve. In most cases, a soldier's service must be pieced together using a mixture of records that survive. Typically, this would include muster books and pay lists, discharge papers, and pension records. Crucially, if a soldier died in service or did not receive an army pension, unfortunately, it is much less likely there will be any detailed record of his service. Thankfully, though, of the records that do exist, many are available to view online through our external partners. This includes the large collection of Royal Hospital Chelsea records, principally in the W097 series. At the time, the hospital was responsible for administering army pensions and held a range of information to help them do so once a soldier had been discharged. It is sometimes possible to find records such as discharge forms, attestation forms, and supporting correspondence within this series, but this is not the case for each individual. And you can see here the type of information you can get from the registers found in the W023 series, which includes age, birthplace, a physical description, previous occupation, and the reason given for a discharge to pension. The great thing about these registers is that they also include those discharged to pension in British colonies, as well as those soldiers who served in the West India Regiment. Alongside the Royal Hospital Chelsea records, it's also possible to find campaign medal rolls in the W0100 series. These provide quite limited information about an individual, but will confirm whether someone was present during a particular conflict. The example here is taken from a list of those who served during the Crimean War, for example. An underutilised set of records are those within the W025 series, which mainly cover the early part of the 19th century, but include what are called the description and succession books of individual regiments. These have not been catalogued down to the name of an individual, so to use them you'll have to know the regiment in which someone served and roughly when. But if you do know this information, then these books can contain a wealth of information. Though it requires a little more work, and you will have to look through a volume until you find the name of an individual, you can find out things like age, place of birth, occupation, and physical descriptions. These books are also downloadable from the National Archives website and are searchable by regiment name and year. Beyond this, there are 3 sets of records which do include attestation or enlistment forms and relate to specific units, organisations and periods of time. If an individual you are researching served in the militia during the latter 19th century, or if someone you are looking for served in the Imperial Yeomanry during the war in South Africa at the turn of the 20th century, then enlistment records are available to download from partner websites. You can also download the service records of individuals who served in the Household Cavalry during the 19th century and up until the end of the First World War from our website. These are searchable by name on our catalogue. One final set of records relating to individual soldiers which may be of interest to you as a researcher are those which relate to disciplinary action taken against soldiers for military offences. These can be found in a range of courts-martial records for the period and include name and regimental details, as well as the offence committed, the date that offence was committed, and the sentence handed out. The records are not name searchable, and some are available to download, while others are accessible in our reading rooms. Now to briefly turn to locating the records of officers who served in the British Army during the 19th century. In fact, there are officers' service records available within our collection from the middle of the 18th century onwards, and these are most commonly found in the W025 and W076 series. Large numbers of them are catalogued by name and so are searchable in this way, and many have also been digitised. And as we can see here, they provide some useful information about an officer, including dates and places of birth, and a summary of their promotions and service. Officers, like other ranks, appear in the campaign medal rolls and also appear in the printed annual army lists. These lists only provide limited information, but it's possible to track the promotions of an officer when going through these, and many are available to download from the National Archives website or are available in our reading rooms. Once you have located an individual, as with those who served in the Royal Navy, you may also wish to find out about the kind of operations they were involved in and where in the world they served. One of the best ways to do this is to search in the records which recorded the location and movement of individual regiments and units over a period of time. These can be found in a variety of different record series, and a full list is available in our research guide to British Army operations up to 1913. The way that these records have been catalogued means that you'll have to know the old regimental number to find the correct volume. In the early 1880s, regiments were given county names, such as the Suffolk Regiment, for example. Prior to this, they were known by a regimental number. In the case of the Suffolk Regiment, the 12th Regiment of Foot, and you'll need to locate the volume which incorporates this regimental number. This example, taken from the W0380 series, covers the movement of regiments from the turn of the 19th century. As we can see, it provides the details of movements of the regiment by date, listing where it served, for how long, and what its strength was during that time. Again, as with Royal Navy operational records, there are also many other records which more broadly cover various campaigns and conflicts, which may be of interest to you, whilst not specifically mentioning individuals. Once again, these can be found in a variety of different record series, depending on which conflict it is you are interested in, and specific details about these records can be found in our research guides. As with records relating to the 19th century, when looking at records relating to the First World War, it's important that you distinguish whether the person you are researching was an officer or not, as this will have an impact on where in the records you will locate information relating to them. Helpfully though, many of the records associated with this period of time have been digitised. To once again start with ratings, i.e. not officers in the Royal Navy, as I mentioned earlier in the video, the National Archives holds the registers of seamen services in the ADM 188 series, and these cover the First World War period, so it may be possible to find the records of an individual in these records. They are downloadable from our website and searchable by name or official number. Here we have the record of a Claude Cooper. They include details such as date and place of birth, ships served on with dates, character and ability, and any medals awarded. We also hold medal rolls for this period, which are also available online, though as with other medal rolls, these do contain only minimal information. Handily, you can search for Royal Navy officers in the same way as if you were going to do that for the 19th century. Service records for officers are available from the ADM 196 series, are searchable by name, and can be downloaded directly from the National Archives website. An important thing to remember, especially if you are having trouble finding an individual, is that it may be that they'd served in the Royal Navy Reserve or the Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve. If that is the case, then these records can be found in different record series. The majority of service records available for the Royal Naval Reserve cover the First World War and can be searched by name, place of birth, and service number through our catalogue. The records themselves can be downloaded from our website and provide an array of personal information similar to that found in other service records. Similarly, for the Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve, digitised versions of First World War service records of both officers and ratings can be found in the ADM 337 series and can be searched by name on the National Archives catalogue. Something that has not been mentioned so far is records relating to service in the Royal Marines, both from the middle of the 19th century onwards and for the First World War. The National Archives holds the service registers for around 110,000 men who joined the Royal Marines from 1842 until around 1925, and these can be found in ADM 159. They are name searchable and downloadable from our catalogue. While the service records for officers can be searched by name and downloaded from our website and are contained within the ADM 196 series, there are also specific Royal Marine medal rolls for the First World War period. And importantly, with all of these service records, they tend to show the ships or units in which someone served, which allows us to research using the operational records held at the National Archives. As with the 19th century, we hold a vast array of different material which relates to the planning and conduct of operations, correspondence to and from the Admiralty, as well as records specifically relating to individual vessels. This includes station records, but also ship's logs. If we go back to the service record of Claude Cooper that we looked at a moment ago, we can see that one of the ships in which he served was the Kent. If we search for the ship using its name within the ADM 53 series and narrow down the results to the period of the First World War, then we find a number of logs of this type. And here we can see the one which relates to the period from July 1916 to September 1917, a time when Cooper was serving on board. The National Archives also hold the records of individual airmen who served in both the Royal Flying Corps and latterly the Royal Air Force when it was formed in April 1918. Depending on when an airman served, you will find his records among the records of the British Army or the Royal Air Force. If he continued to serve in the latter, then these records are available in the Air 79 series and can be accessed and downloaded through one of our online partners. If you are unable to find a service record, then there may be a First World War Medal Index card associated with the person you are researching, or the campaign medal roll may mention them too, and both of these sets of records have also been digitised. Once more, if you are able to locate a service record containing some specific information about a squadron, wing or brigade in which someone served, then you may also be able to locate some operational records related to that unit. These are predominantly found in the sub-series in Air 1. The best way to locate this kind of record is to search within the series using the name of the squadron, wing or brigade. The National Archives also holds operations records books from 1911 onwards in the Air 27 series. These have been digitised and can be searched using the squadron number and a relevant date range. This particular example includes a summary of events for No. 5 Squadron from 1913 onwards. Others can also contain details of work carried out and appendices which can provide details of aircraft type, some names of pilots and flight crew, and weather conditions. In the final section, let us turn to records relating to service in the British Army during the First World War. The main collection of other rank service records are contained in the WO 363 series, known as the Burnt Documents, and are name searchable and downloadable through our online partners. Only about a third of these records survive, as the rest were destroyed during bombing in the Second World War. If you are lucky enough to find that the person you are looking for has a surviving service record, then they can provide a wealth of information. These records often contain attestation papers, which may contain information such as place of birth, age, trade, and next of kin, a service history including postings, regiments in which they served and promotions, a medical history, and also occasionally information about their conduct and discipline. As with the 19th century, records of the Household Cavalry are available in WO 400 and include around 8,000 additional service records, which are also searchable by name and downloadable from the National Archives website. In the WO 364 series, you can also find other ranks' pension records. Again, these are name searchable through our partner websites and contain similar information to a service record, the main difference being that the pension records should provide information relating to a cause of discharge, so also a reason for a pension. These records can contain some very detailed information. This example states that the individual was wounded in the left arm. He had an operation performed in Belfast, and the note states, amongst other things, that he has much stiffness in the fingers and that the blood supply appears very deficient. An important element about these service records to note is that they only cover the period up to 1920. Not included in these records are any for those who continue to serve in the army beyond this point. So, for example, if an individual decided to re-enlist at the end of the First World War in order to continue their service, you will not find their information in these records. Turning to the service records of officers in the British Army though, unfortunately these are not available online. They are searchable by name on our catalogue, and their size can range from a few pages to a few volumes, partly depending on the amount of correspondence generated during and after their service. They can be found in the W0339, W0374 or W0138 series of records. So this is an example from the W0339 series, and you will see that it contains personal information like date of birth, address and next of kin, and can include a whole host of other fascinating information. For both officers and other ranks, there are other avenues to explore, especially if you've been unable to locate a service record for the person you're researching. In particular, the National Archives holds the British Army Medal Index cards for the First World War period. These can be found in W0372 and are available to download from the National Archives website. They're searchable by name, regimental number, corps and/or rank, and you can utilise a mixture of these search terms to try and narrow down who you are looking for. This is particularly useful if you are searching for someone with a common name. These records are not as detailed as a service record and come in a few different formats, but can provide additional information if the service record has not survived. For example, they will often contain the first theatre of war in which someone served and when they entered that theatre. And quite often, if this information is blank, it means that the individual went to France in 1916 or later. The original medal issue and medal receipt may also be noted. However, most of the cards record medal entitlement rather than the awarding of medals. If you want to check whether a person received a medal, you can consult the medal rolls in W0329, which should be annotated with pencil ticks. Lastly, if you want to research more of the operational side of the British Army in the First World War, again, there are many thousands of records relating to the planning and conduct of battles and campaigns. But to take the research of an individual further than their service records, it's possible to search the unit war diaries held in our collection. The majority of these can be found in the W095 series, and many of them are available to download from our website. It is possible to search the catalogue using the name of the unit as the search term. They are listed in the catalogue by the unit, along with a short description summarising the theatre of operation and the section of the British Army command structure within which the unit existed, usually a division. These diaries are a great way to find out what a unit was doing at any given time. It is important to remember that they do not always contain details about individuals, especially if they weren't officers, but can contain information not found in other records. For example, to look at the unit in which the author J.B. Priestley served, it's possible to find the entry for the date in which he was injured when he was buried by a nearby shell explosion on the 13th of June 1916. These records certainly provide a way of enriching a story beyond the service record. Just finally, and to cover something that would be applicable to research being carried out on any individual during the whole period which I've spoken about so far, it's worth briefly mentioning records relating to the award of gallantry medals and honours. Broadly speaking, these can be searched for using the London Gazette website, while the National Archives also holds entries from the Victoria Cross registers, as well as the Distinguished Service Order Register, both of which can be searched by name online, while if you are searching for someone in the Royal Navy or Royal Marines, we also hold the honour sheets for the First World War period. There are, of course, also other resources held outside the National Archives which may be of interest and use to you in your research. For example, places like the Imperial War Museum and National Army Museum hold a range of personal papers for individuals during this period. The Lives at Sea database, built partly from records held at the National Archives, provides details of naval service during the First World War. The Commonwealth War Graves Commission also holds an online database of men and women killed during the First World War, which is name searchable and can sometimes provide valuable information which may help in your research. There are, of course, many other records which may be of interest to you, as we didn't have time to go through everything in this film. Please do remember that we have an array of research guides available on our website, which go through some of those additional records, while also providing information on how to search for these records. Thank you for listening to our webinar on military records. Hopefully we've been able to provide you with some guidance to help you in your research on this topic.